Hello, everybody. How are you? It's been a long time. Know you guys are doing well out there. I hope everybody's staying safe and keeping up with the times. Today, we are going to be getting back into the Tales from the Stacks. I'm your pal, Jerry V, and we are at the Lucero Library. And we are going to be doing a bi monthly, every other week, you'll get to see me reading a book from our stack of books, our collection here at the Lucero Library, in conjunction with the PCCLD. So they have a bigger collection. So if you like some of the work of this author, you may be able to find some of the stuff online. If you're ever confused or don't know what to do, please call the branch, and we're always here to help you, quick friends. I promise. So without further ado, we are going to be doing a new book. This one is called Ruby on the Outside. And I'd like to say thank you very much to Simon and Schuster Books for Young Readers. They are the publisher of this book. And the author of this book is going to be Miss Nora Raleigh Baskin. So thank you very much. We're going to be reading this to you virtually. So, start with chapter 1. Here we go, everybody. Ruby on the Outside. It's all she's known her whole life, Matu explains to her friends on the phone. When she thinks I can't hear her, Ruby doesn't remember anything different. So for her, it's normal, she says about me. But Matu is wrong. My dog Lulu might not know what it's like to walk off leash, to walk free, to choose where she wants to stop and smell, and when she's done, and when and then decide for herself to mosey over to the next interesting spot and sniff, or not. She might not have any memory of running around the outside without a collar around her neck, but that doesn't mean she likes it this way. You cannot know any better and still know you don't like something. Come on, both of you, Matu says to me and Lulu. We've got to get back inside. It's too hot out here and I should start dinner. I hate to do it, but I tug on Lulu's collar so she knows it's time to go in. She lifts her head and looks at me because I'm the one holding the other end of the leash. I'm the one who can make her come when I want to. And she knows it. I'll never know what she really thinks or what she smells in the grass or those leaves or on the side of the buildings, but I can tell she doesn't want to go inside yet. And I feel guilty making her. Except it is hot out here, I do agree. And I'm pretty hungry. Come to think of it, so I give her a little yank. Lulu's straining her head towards some tuft of grass, locking her hind legs and gripping her claws into the ground so she can get one last good inhale. Let's go, Lulu. There's nothing there, I say. Nothing that I can see, anyway. But just because you can't see something doesn't mean it is not there. And just because you don't remember something does not mean you don't miss it. And just because you are used to something doesn't mean it's normal. So I give Lulu a little more time to sniff around, and I know she appreciates it. When I was little, I didn't understand every time we visited my mother in the Bedford Hills Correctional Facility for Women. I expected she was coming home with us. Not this time, my mother would say. But I'll be home soon, I promise, soon. So I thought, next time. Next time is long enough to be soon. But each time my mother said it again. Not yet. Not this time, sweetheart. But soon, I promise. Don't forget I love you. and I'll always be here for you. I will always be your mother. I don't know why she was saying that. Of course she was my mother. I just wanted her to come home already. But maybe this visit was soon. Or maybe this was the time we would walk all out together. If not this week, the next week, or the next week. After a while, Matu started warning me before we'd go inside. But I still didn't get it. We pulled into the parking lot, which looked pretty much like any other parking lot if you don't look up at the barbed wire. Like a parking lot at the A&P, and the one at Petco, and the one at Home Depot. Matu said, "Ruby, don't keep asking your mother when she's coming home. It's not nice." I don't understand. How can wanting your mother to come home not be nice? I wanted to hurry inside, but a long line was forming by the visitors' trailer. My heart started beating faster, which is something my heart does whenever I'm anxious about something. And right then, I was in a hurry to get inside to see my mother. I tried reasoning with my own thoughts to calm me down, talking to myself. It's okay. The line will move. No matter how long it takes, you'll get to the front. No one will stop you from seeing your mom. And no matter how long it takes, she'll be waiting for you. So my mind was talking, but my body did something totally on its own accord, as if it wasn't listening at all. My heart started pounding harder, and then it was hard to breathe. The harder it was to breathe, the more my heart started to worry and beat faster, until finally I was wheezing and barely sucking in air, and my chest hurt. I reached up and took Matu's hand at the same time. I willed my heart to slow, and slowly the air made its way back into my lungs. Finally, Matu and I made it to the front of the line and inside the trailer, where there were seats, and there were some old toys and books, and all these posters on the wall, with all sorts of encouraging sayings. Of course, I didn't call her Matu back then. She was still Aunt Barbara. The line of people moved a little faster in here, and finally we made it inside. We pulled all our belongings into a locker, showed our IDs, but we still had to go through all the security, the metal detectors, the wand search, the hand stamps, the gated doors, the big black bars, the hand stamp check-in, the sign-in, more bars, and finally, we got to the visitors' room, where we were all assigned to a table. That was the hardest part, waiting again, with my heart threatening to start to pound again and my feet jittering. Sitting at our table with the big number 28 marked on the top, watching everyone around us talking, laughing, hugging their mom or sister or daughter, while I was still waiting. Matu started to say something. Roop, she was going to warn me again to be nice, not to keep asking my mother when she was coming home. I know, I said, because I wasn't listening to her, because I had a plan. That's rude, Ruby. I'm talking to you, Matu said. I sat up straight and listened, all the while going over my strange silence in my head. I might have been only 5 or 6 at the time, but I was getting very good at living inside and outside my head at the same time. Matu was talking, but I could see the correctional officer sitting at her desk, way high up at the front of the long visitor's room. Some kids from a long time ago must have drawn that colorful picture they have covering her really tall desk. So the picture looked all friendly, but the woman sitting where the boss of the but that woman sitting there was the boss of this room and everyone in it. She was the one who told everyone where to sit, and she was the one who asked people to leave when they were getting too loud or fighting. She was the one who told people when their time was up because other visitors needed to come in, and everyone did what she said. So I knew she was most certainly the one to ask. She was the key player in my plan. Are you listening to me, Ruby? Matu went on. I nodded. I folded my hands the way they taught me in kindergarten and waited. I don't really remember much of that visit except for the very end. When it was time to leave, my mother got that sad look on her face, and I got a horrible stomach ache. We had moved from the table into the children's center at the time, and the little area that looked like a nursery school, separated from the rest of the visitors' room by a wall of windows. Just before we were about to leave, I jumped up, pulled open the doors, and headed right for the big, tall platform where the officer in charge was sitting. Sometimes she came down from her post and walked around. But right then, she was sitting at her desk working on something I couldn't see because it was too tall. She looked down at me. Please, I said, please, can I take my mommy home with me today? Please, I know it's been soon. I talked as fast as I could before Matu could catch up to me, before anyone could stop me. I went on. I know because every time I come here, it's sooner. And I know when I want to take my mommy home with me. Please, can I tell my mommy that it's soon now? Please, can I tell my mommy, come home with me today? Whose child is this? The correctional officer said. She looked as sad as I was. Please, please, I cried. I really want my mommy. Then Matu was there, pulling me back, trying to tell me something I couldn't understand. She was right next to me, but my mother was not. My mother stayed back at the table because she wasn't allowed this close to the exit door. It was like there was something keeping her away from me. Something invisible that only she could see. But just because you can't see something doesn't mean it's not there. Because there's something about that place that made you know that someone could stop you from doing whatever it was you were doing at any moment for any reason whatsoever. In this place, you couldn't go where you wanted to go, and you couldn't be what you wanted to be until finally you stopped thinking it was possible. But that didn't mean you liked it. Chapter 2. No one in my whole 5th grade knows about my mother. I've kept my secret, and I wasn't always or ever been easy to do. There was so many things they tell you to ask your mother when you are in school. I know they mean either of your parents or your grandparents or legal guardian, but most people, teachers included, just reduce that mouthful to your mom. Get your mom to sign this. Get your mother's permission. Did your mother buy that for you? Does your mother know where you're eating that? When people hear about Matu, they sometimes think I'm Native American or African, which I can't understand, since that's her name kind of sounds like, since that's what her name kind of sounds like. But it's nothing that interesting. It's like Ma Tu, or more accurate, Ma Tu. It's like not my real mom, but my second mom, Mom Tu. Just sort of morphed into Matu when I was starting school, and it sucks. And it stuck because if I called her Aunt Barbara or Aunt Bobby, people always wanted to know where my mother was. But if I called her Matu, they were confused enough not to ask. Hopefully, I learned not to invite questions if possible. So, if someone wants to think that I'm 1/8 descendant of an Iroquois tribe from a long-lost Egyptian dynasty, I'll let them. It helps that I have long, dark hair and brown eyes. But there's a girl who hangs out at the pool here who really doesn't like an Egyptian princess. I've seen her 2 days in a row. Oh, that's Margaret, or something or other. They just moved into the units in the front entrance. You don't know her? Kristen tells me. We were lying on our stomachs on the towels stretched on the concrete by the pool. It's still a week before the end of the school, but summer is definitely already here. Kristen is my friend from Mount Calico's Elementary, but she's more like my condo friend because we aren't in any classes together or go to school together. All the years I've been living here, from 1st to 5th grade, we've never once ended up with the same teacher. But Kristen and I come to the pool every sunny day after school when it's warm, when the weather is warm, and mostly cloudy ones too. No, I never saw her before, I said, but of course, I've had seen her. Yesterday, I couldn't stop watching her. Kristen wasn't here yesterday, so she was visiting her grandmother in Brewster, but Matu and I were here. It was Saturday and boiling out, even though it was only June. And the pool was packed, but there was this girl. She was alone. The whole time I watched her, I didn't see her talk to anyone. Any other kid, any parent, any grown-up. But she didn't seem concerned with it at all. It's hard to say why, but I could just tell she seemed very comfortable being alone. It kind of intrigued me. I watched her sit on her towel in the grassy area reading a book. She was wearing a one-piece purple bathing suit with purple diagonal stripe from her shoulder to her hip. I couldn't see what she was reading, even though I tried to walk by on my way to the concession stand just to get a peek. Whatever it was, it must have been good. She rarely pulled her gaze from the pages. And it was also kind of interesting the way she got into the pool, swam around a little, like she doesn't care if anybody knows that she was there or not, going out again, and then just walked back into her spot without wrapping her towel around her waist, like a skirt. Lately, I felt naked when I was out of the water, like I have to hide myself, or at the very least, walk really fast to get back to my spot and sit down. But this girl just strolled back like she wasn't worried about anybody seeing or being seen. or looking perfect, which made her look perfect. But today, she was reading a book, and she hasn't gotten up once. I can only watch her from across the pool and wonder what she's really like. Margaret's a weirdo, so you're better off not knowing her, Kristen said. I don't know where Kristen gets that information, so I take it with a grain of salt and an expression Machu uses. Ruby, you're not even hearing me, is Kristen is annoyed with me now. I was saying that Margaret is a weirdo, so you're better off not knowing her, Kristen tells me. Oh, sorry. I'm listening. What did you say? But I'm really not sorry, because a lot of the time Kristen is annoyed with me, which was another reason we probably weren't such good friends at school. When Kristen had her choice, she usually chose someone else. But to tell the truth, it was fine with me. Kristen was a little too close to my home life for comfort. I like to keep my school and home as far apart as I could. On the other hand, Kristen is gone always, all summer to camp, and I'll be all alone here. To top it off, this summer I will be going to Fox Run Middle School, and without a best friend, someone I can trust, well, I just have a bad feeling about it. I mean, just look at her. Doesn't even bother her, Kristen says. She's different. Oh, okay, I tell Kristen. Thanks for warning me. Now, I'm really intrigued. Those are the first two chapters of this installment of the Tales from the Stacks. This has been Ruby on the Outside. So if you guys like this book, you can check it out from the library. I'll continue to read it. So I hope to see you guys again for the next installment in a couple weeks. So I hope you all are safe. Hope you all are well. Please stay tuned for Miss Jessica. She's coming right up after me. We'll see you guys. Bye.